So today's class is going to be on color images, physics of color, color perceived by humans, the color spaces and about the palette images. So coming to color images, what is meant by color? Okay, so we say color, right? Red, yellow, green, so many colors are available. Okay, so the human color perception is based mainly on the physical property, that is the wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum. So basically to consider, so color is a psychophysical phenomenon. So basically when we speak of color, it means that they are different wavelengths. So consider the electromagnetic spectrum as you can see in front of you, the figure 2.23. So that is the electromagnetic spectrum is you can divide it into bands from low frequencies to extremely high frequencies. Okay. Also in terms of the wavelength, right? So, but can the human eyes perceive the complete electromagnetic spectrum? No. Only the part that is the visible range is what the human eyes can perceive. So, what is the range of the human visible range? That is the color range. So, basically, it is approximately from 380 nanometer to 740 nanometer, or sometimes we say 400 to 700 nanometer. So basically the visible colors with the wavelengths, okay, what we are seeing in the second figure, okay, so the first figure what you see is 2.23 is a complete electromagnetic spectrum, and the part what you can see that is from approximately to 400 to 700 nanometer is what is your spectral colors. So the visible colors with the wavelengths shown what you can see in front of you in figure 2.24, they are known as the spectral colors, only which are possible and can be seen by the human eyes. Actually, when Newton did the experiment using the prism, when we put a white light, the white light can be decomposed using the Newtonian prism. It is the same what you can see in the rainbow also, right? So colors, when we speak, we can consider that to be a combination of primary colors. What are they? The red, green and blue. Okay. So we speak now of the human color perception in terms of what wavelength the human eyes can perceive. Then we speak of the physics of the color. Then actually different wavelengths of light, they have a different intensity of irradiation. For different wavelengths, usually for different lambda, the intensity of irradiation is different. So this variation, it can be expressed in terms of something known as the power spectrum. Okay, so what is power spectrum? With the changing, with the changing wavelength, the intensity of irradiation changes. So this can be represented in terms of S of lambda. That is, it is a function of lambda. So basically there are why we say different colors. Okay, so two physical mechanisms that happen when a surface is irradiated, that is when the surface of any surface, some sunlight or the radiation is projected. So two predominant physical mechanism takes place. So the first is the surface reflection. So what is meant by reflection as in such? So here we speak of something known as the surface reflection. So surface reflection, what it does is, it rebounds the incoming energy is in a similar way to mirror. So if you consider a mirror, we know that we can see our face in the mirror. That is because of the reflection. So here we speak in terms of surface reflection. So it rebounds the incoming energy in the same way as we can see in the mirror. Okay. So the second one is known as the body reflection. So what it does, this body reflection, what it means is that the energy diffuses into the material, and what it does is the surface or the body which absorbs that energy, it reflects randomly from the internal pigments in the matter. Okay, so because of the property of the matter, so basically because of the pigment, of the color pigment, there is some sort of random reflection. So this is known as the body reflection. And this kind of body reflection is very predominant in dielectrics or plastic or paints. So these two are the mechanisms which result in why the presence of colors. So what you see here in figure 2.25 is what I meant by those two physical properties. So you can have the incident illumination and you can think of surface reflection and the body reflection. So the surface reflection is basically same way how I said in terms of mirror, where it rebounds the incoming energy, and the body reflection is mainly because of the pigment color inside in the that object. So speaking of how the colors are captured, we say in terms of camera and so on. So most of the sensors which is used for color captures. To speak frankly, they do not have direct access to color. So one exception is in terms of the spectrophotometer. So what is the spectrophotometer and its principle? So this principle of the spectrophotometer is similar to that of the Newton's prism. So what does a Newton's prism, or basically a prism, do? When a white light falls on it, it splits into the 7 colors. So similar to it, the spectrophotometer, what it does is the incoming irradiation is decomposed into spectral colors, okay, and intensity along the spectrum. So for different wavelengths, it is a different, so it spreads. So depending on the changing wavelength, okay. So the incoming irradiation is decomposed into colors and intensity along the spectrum with respect to the changing wavelength. But however, the spectrophotometers, they use diffraction gratings instead of the glass prism. So I told you that the different wavelengths, they exhibit different intensities. So if at all this intensity is measured in the various narrow bands of wavelength. So one wavelength actually means a different color. So a narrow band of wavelength, if you see, it is some sort of, you can say, one color. So if you collected all these narrow bands of wavelengths in a vector describing each pixel, and if each of the spectral band, okay, this wavelength band or the spectral band, is digitized independently. What is digitization? So we it is continuous, right? So we sample and quantize. So basically we digitize independently, and that they can be represented by an individual digital image function, okay. So we can represent like this. So this way, what is known as the spectral multispectral images are created. So, for example, this Landsat 4, that is one satellite, what it does, it transmits the digitized image in 5 spectral bands from that from near ultraviolet to infrared. Okay, so such kind of applications or such kind of places, what we do is we do this way. What is known as a multispectral images are created, wherein the different spectral bands, okay, they are digitized independently, and they for each for each pixel, the spectral wavelengths or the bands, they are digitized independently, represented in terms of a vector and represented by an individual digital image function. Speaking of the color perceived by humans, there are 3 types of sensors that are receptive to the wavelength of the incoming irradiation. So, even our eyes is the surface. So, 3 types of sensors are there which are receptive to the whatever the wavelength of the incoming irradiation is there. So, since it is 3 types of receptors, the term is known as trichomacy. Okay, so what I have written here trichomacy is because that there are 3 types of sensors. Okay, so there are two receptors to my primarily to focus on. The color sensitive receptors on the human retina. So we speak of retina, right? So the color sensitive receptors, they are known as the cones, and the light sensitive receptors on the retina, they are called as the rods. Okay. So basically these cones, they are categorized into 3 types, okay, based on the wavelength. So short, medium and long. When we speak of short, the maximum sensitivity is 430 nanometer. When we speak of medium, the sensitivity is 560 nanometer, and when we speak of long, the sensitivity is 610 nanometer. So we call the cones basically as S, M and L. Okay, so S means short, M means medium and L means large. If you have textbook in front of you, as in when I explain, you can see that also, no problem. Okay. So this is about the cones and rods. So cones are color sensitive receptor and rods are light sensitive receptors. This is about how the color is perceived by humans. We have the cones, rods like that. Okay. So now that we understood the color perceived by humans in terms of cones and rods, now we can think in terms of how the the sensor in a camera should be modeled as. So there are photo receptors or in a in a camera. So the reaction of a photoreceptor means the output from the sensor in the camera. We can be we can model that mathematically. Okay, so since I told there should be three types of sensors, three, that is the trichomacy. So let I be the specific type of sensor. So I can be 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so the retinal cone type S, M and L. Okay, so in the human case, so let Ri of lambda. So let me write it here. So let Ri of lambda. Okay, so let Ri of lambda be the spectral sensitivity of the sensor. Okay, be the spectral sensitivity of the sensor, and let I of lambda, so what is I of lambda? Be the spectral density of the illumination. Okay, so Ri of lambda, what you can see here is the spectral sensitivity of the center, and I of lambda be the spectral density of illumination. Okay, so these two properties actually you have already read it. Okay, so let this be the representation, and let yeah, so we have R I of lambda, spectral sensitivity of the sensor, I of lambda, spectral density of illumination. And what about S of lambda? Can you recall? I have told in terms of the power spectrum. So same way, it denotes basically how the surface path, it reflects each of the wavelength of the light. So when a surface is irradiated, the power spectrum, or how the for the change, it's a function of. So if we have all these parameters, the output Qi, okay, so the output or the reaction or the response of the photoreceptor or the output from the sensor for the ith sensor, right? I told you I can be 1, 2 or 3. So the spectral response of the ith sensor, we are going to model it mathematically by means of integration, that is over a range of wavelengths, right? So from lambda 1 to lambda 2. So that lambda 1 is the starting, that is the range starting, and the ending, that is the lambda 2. So of the multiplication of I of lambda, Ri of lambda and S of lambda d lambda. So this gives how the mathematical the modeling of the output of the sensor, that is based on I. So I told that the different sensor types means there are three. So I can be S, M and L. So we can have QS, QM and QL, or I can say I as 1, 2, 3, or S, M and L based on the types of sensor. S means short, M means medium, and L means long. And in case if the in ideal case, when the illumination is perfectly white, so what does that mean? If the illumination is perfectly white, so that time I of lambda becomes 1, so that is known as perfect illumination. So so that is one of the case. So you can see one figure here, no? So that is in terms of lambda. So x-axis is lambda in nanometer, and y-axis we have the relative sensitivity. So what we have this figure is that the three functions, that is S, M and L. So what is the relative sensitivity S, M and L? How it is the expression as in terms of lambda or the wavelength is varied, how the sensitivity is varied. So that is expressed in this figure. So there is one more concept known as color metameter. You see mixing of colors, right? Kids like to mix colors. So if you have two tubes of colors, say red and green and red yellow, you want to mix and create the new color, right? So basically a metamer. Okay, so it means two things that are physically different but perceived as the same. For example, red and green adding to produce yellow is a color metamer, because why? Yellow could also have been produced by a spectral color, but what we are doing, we are able to perceive the mixing of yellow and red and green to produce yellow. So this is a concept known as color metamer. So what is the kind of trick it is playing? So the human visual system, it is perceiving that red and green is the same as, so the mixing of red and green wavelength is the same as producing yellow. So there is a small concept known as color matching function. It's very simple. So I request you to go through that in page number 34 of the textbook, and this figure is related to the color matching experiment. Just one small para, please go through it yourself. So next we speak of the concept known as color model. So what is this color model? So basically it's an abstraction way of representation in terms of vector. So basically it is a mathematical abstraction to express the colors as tuples of numbers. Okay, so tuples of numbers, say three colors, four colors, like that. Okay, so basically it's a mathematical abstraction to express colors as tuples of numbers. So typically we can go for 3 or 4 values of color components. Okay, so but the standard technical standard is known as the XYZ color space. So what is this XYZ color space? So the standard, given is that the X should be 700 nanometer, Y is 546.1 nanometer, and Z is 435.8 nanometer. And the color matching function x of lambda, y of lambda, and z of lambda, they correspond to the ability of the human viewing a screen through an aperture. Okay, so think that we have this aperture in the eye. I think that eye is like an aperture. It can be modeled as an aperture. So as though a human, a normal human is viewing a screen through an aperture with say 2-degree field of view. So in general our field of view is approximately 120 to 180 degree. Think that is you have a small aperture with just a 2-degree field of view. So this is the standard given. Okay. So this XYZ color standard, it should fulfill 3 requirements. Okay, so unless the color matching experiment which I asked you to go through, this color matching experiment can yield negative lobes of color matching. So unlike that, the matching function of XYZ space, they have to be non-negative. So that is one of the requirement, that is the XYZ color standards, that XYZ color space, we call it as the color space, should be non-negative, and the value of y of lambda, so I said x of lambda, y of lambda, and z of lambda. So the value of y of lambda should coincide, should be the brightness or luminance. That is the second requirement. And the third requirement is that the normalization is performed. So if we usually perform normalization so that the maximum value of the range is 1, or else the dynamic range is very vast. So usually normalization is performed to assure that the power corresponding to the 3 color matching functions is equal. So the color matching, the resulting color matching function, that is what is seen here in figure 2.28. Okay. So x-axis is the lambda, and y-axis is the value corresponding to that wavelength. Okay. So the actual color, if you think of, it is actually a combination. You can say weighted sum of x, y, and z. There's one important terminology, that is the subspace of colors perceivable by humans is called the color gamut. So the subspace of colors perceivable by humans is called the color gamut. Okay, the color gamut is nothing but the subspace of colors perceivable by humans. And this figure, that is the figure 2.29, is that subspace of the XYZ color space, and this is one of the color gamut. Okay, this shows all the colors that is perceivable by humans. So this is that, I'll repeat, the subspace of colors perceivable by humans is called the color gamut. So actually this color gamuts, that is actually should be in a 3 dimension. Okay, so that cannot be shown on a book or a paper. So it is shown in on a 2D plane, but you should understand that it is x, y, and z. So what is the color gamut and range, or the color matching, or the CIE, that is on obtained on the different screens. The one is the CRT monitor, the printer, and film. That is what is shown in front of you. And I told you that we have to convert the 3D coordinates to 2D coordinates to see that chromaticity in the 2-dimensional diagram. So since 3D figures are difficult to handle, so the new 2D coordinates, that is x, y, and z, they are obtained like this. So that is x is x by x plus y plus z, y is y by x plus y plus z, and z is equal to 1 minus x minus y. So whatever you saw in the previous figure was basically that diagram after doing the projection of the XYZ color space onto the plane. Next, coming to the color space. Okay, so different many types of colors, and primary colors are available. Say we say RGB, like that, right? So there are several different primary colors, and the corresponding color spaces are available. depending on the primary colors, and these color spaces they can be transformed from one to another. So in case if the color space is absolute, then the transformation from one space to another is one to one mapping, though a small sort of information is lost. And and because these color spaces that have their own gamut, that is nothing but the subspace, the information is lost if the transformed value appears out of the gamut. Now speaking of the RGB color space, the RGB color space has its origin. Basically we start from the CRT, that is the cathode ray tube. So it's originally the first where we see this is color television were used. Okay, so the RGB color space is an example of it's a relative color standard and not an absolute one. So here the primary colors are red, green and blue. Okay, so this was mimicked in the CRT Lumino 4. So it's not about the three colors. So basically the RGB, it also uses color mixing to inform what kind of light needs to be emitted to produce a given color. So it's sort of color mixing and matching takes place. So the transformation, I just now spoke that from one color space to another color space, because there can be transformation. So the transformation to a different color space, this can be expressed in terms of a 3 cross 3 matrix transformation. And here we assume that for the each primary color they are quantized to m is equal to 2 power n values. I'll just write here. So it is quantized to m is equal to 2 power n values. So for example, if we say n is 8, then 2 power 8 is 256, correct? So you can have 256 levels, like that we say, and the highest value is m minus 1, that is from 0 to m minus 1, because 0 0 0 we consider it as black, and that maximum value is the white. So k k k, for example, if you say it is white, so k comma 0 comma 0, so 0 comma, you can see that here actually 0 comma 0 comma 0 is black. We can say k comma k comma k is white. So this is basically the RGB color space. Okay, k comma k is white. So R, when I say R, it is k comma 0 comma 0. So that's why we say the first space is R. G, if you speak, it is 0 comma k comma 0, and blue means 0 comma 0 comma k. I told you, no, so from one color space to another color space we can transform. One to one mapping can be done if it is absolute color. If not, what happens is some sort of loss is there. So if at all we want to transform from do the transformation from XYZ to RGB, this kind of transformation can be used. Or if we want to do from RGB to the other, we have to do the inverse transformation. So these are the values used for RGB to XYZ or XYZ to RGB transformation. The US or the Japanese people, they use something known as the YIQ color space. So here we are representing the Y component as the intensity, I and Q as the color. Okay, so like that there are different. Okay, you can check this, and we should understand that our sensitivity to luminance or intensity is very high. So basically the YIQ color model is useful because the Y component provides all that is necessary for the monochrome, that is a single color display, and it exploits the advantageous properties of the human visual system. So human visual systems, one of the properties that it is susceptible or very sensitive to luminance. So since it uses that property, that is Y component in the YIQ color space, so this is also one of the very good color model. So there is one more, that is the CMY, which you can go through, and HSV. So CMY stands for cyan, magenta and yellow, where the three colors are used, that is the cyan, CYAN, magenta and yellow. There is one more that is known as the HSV, that is H stands for hue, S stands for saturation and V stands for value. Okay, so what you see here is the HSV color space, which you can go through, and the summary or the different color spaces and applications are shown here. This is very simple and easy to understand. So with this I'll end this chapter or the module, and we'll start the next module in the next lecture. So some small topics I intentionally left here and there because I'll be giving it as assignment. Okay, so I request you to go through the module 1, and even the last video I gave a very general overview of some of the concepts. Okay, basically the histogram, entropy and all. Okay, So because I'll be again expecting you to read some of those concepts and answering the assignment. So 3 to 4 questions I'll be giving the first assignment and you'll be submitting. Okay. So I want you to go through the videos and also go through the textbook, and if you have any doubts, please approach to me. Thank you.